Hello everyone. Let me turn my camera on and start sharing my screen as well. Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar. I'm going to give everybody some time to enter, to settle. Let me also start sharing the presentation for today. Will I do that? All right. Hopefully you can see my screen. Let me know. Let me know whether you can see me, whether you can hear me well. Hopefully everything is fine. All right, I see a couple people raising their hands. We're going to address the questions towards the end, so hold them until then, as I cannot give you Microsoft microphone access so that you guys can ask your questions. But we do have a live chat and Q&A section, so if you have any questions, feel free to drop those into the Q&A. And yeah, we're almost ready to start. Again, just going to give you all some time to get settled. And let me just jump into the chat for a second, see where everyone is logging in from. Let us know. I'm currently located in Greece. Let's see where some of you guys are logging in from. I see Belize. Hello, Kevin. I see Rose in Florida. Hi, Vatsal from Mumbai, India. I hope I said that correctly. I see Marlene from Portugal, Asa from Sweden, all over. I see Christelle from Italy, Barbara from New Jersey. I see Seattle, London. That's good to see you from all over. I understand that we have different time zones, so thank you all for being here. And yeah, I think with that, we are good to start. We have some exciting, some interesting things to show you today and speakers as well. So I think we can start. I see Copenhagen as well. Hi there, Morten, if I said that right. Okay, so I think it's time to start. So again, let me welcome you into this session. So interesting topic today, and we're going to talk about AI prompts, and the playbook that we have created, and we are essentially giving it out to you. So today we're going to see and talk about 60 prompts, all the way from planning to building and improving your customer training, So let me move forward and start actually. So in case you guys are hearing us for the first time, just a few words over here in terms of who LearnWorlds is. So LearnWorlds is an all-in-one LMS. It is AI first, and it can help you from creating your courses to marketing and to selling them as well. And it can cover essentially all your educational needs, whether you're a creator, whether you're in B2B or customer training, internal training. LearnWorlds is for you. You can see just a couple numbers over here and people that trust us. So I'm not going to dive any deeper into that. And I think we can start by meeting our speakers. So the first one you see over here is myself. So hi, I am Elisa Tani. I'm a learning designer over here at LearnWorlds. Along with us, we also have my colleague Katerina Nasu, Junior Product Manager in our AI team over here. Hi, Katerina. Happy to
Hello,
have you on board
everyone.
with us. And of course, we also have Christine Kukic, customer education and AI content expert. So hi, Christine, if you can hear us as well.
All is good.
Yeah, great. We can hear you, you can see you, and happy to have you here. So this is our panel for today, and let's start right away over here. So what are we going to see? We're going to see around, well, not all of them in depth, but 60 ready-to-use prompts organized by plan, build, and improve. Then we're going to have a live demo inside the LearnWorlds platform and see how some of those AI things can happen in LearnWorlds. And then, of course, you will be given the full prompt playbook. So all of the prompts, all of the 60 prompts, we're going to refer to some of those in the presentation. And you can get a chance to, of course, download that at the end of the session and have it for yourself. Uh, Give me a second over here, and let me move on to the next one. So next up, just a little bit more detail on today's agenda. So first off, we're going to see what the problem is and how training teams actually use AI today. Then we're going to jump in a little bit deeper into the framework that we've created, planning, building, and improving. We're going to dive deeper into each one of the stages, plan, build, and improve. Then we're going to see the live demo by me, and towards the end, we're going to tackle some questions that you guys have. So that is how the agenda is going to look like. And I think with that, we can move in with our speaker, Christine, for today. So, Christine, the floor is yours.
Oh, joy. Hi, everyone. It is good to see all of the people I know. I'm seeing some hi Christines in the chat. So, hi back. And for those of you that don't know me, recognize I've been working in AI and customer education for 7 years, so longer than most people have known AI existed. And the starting point that we're talking about today, I think, really focuses on leveraging AI appropriately in your space. And what I've been seeing, I talk to individuals, I talk to teams, I speak like this in a variety of different locations. And in all of those discussions with the hundreds of companies and the thousands of people that I talk to in a year, very few of them have developed a solid, appropriate AI first strategy. What I see in practice is a hodgepodge. One person is using ChatGPT to do these things. One person is leveraging the tools within their LMS to do these things. And one other person is using something unique to them. And we end up with a hodgepodge of tools, no real planning involved in how we're going to leverage AI in our practice, and a lot of confusion because of the way that we're doing it and the fact that we're not involving everyone in the process. So what I think we're going to focus on today is the tools to kind of bring that all together. And I think that is one of the most important things that we can do, right, you guys?
Yes, absolutely.
So this is it, right? It's being able to leverage the structures in the use cases and the workflows that we already have. We're talking about being able to take those isolated occurrences and turn them into standardized workflows with all of the rigor that we attend to on the regular basis, right? It's the ability to govern what we do. It's the ability to create guidelines and guardrails for the ways that we leverage AI in our practice. And that's what we're seeing, right? It's the ability to take those individual tasks and turn them into workflows leveraging AI.
Mhm.
Let's go on. Yep, there we go. So, Katerina, what's the best examples of that?
Thank you, Christine. First of all, for those who don't know me, I'm Katerina. I'm a junior product manager here at LearnWorlds on the AI team. I work on how we design and integrate AI features into the platform. And today I'll share some broader context on how to think about AI as a tool, what helps it work well, and what can limit it. So, Christine, I think part of why teams end up in that pattern is because of how most people first experience AI. You probably type something in, the output is okay, but not quite right. And you either spend a lot of time trying to edit it, to fix it, or you give it up and eventually you do it manually. So, of course, this is not something that, this doesn't mean that AI isn't useful. It just means that the prompt didn't give it enough to work with because the model doesn't know your audience. It doesn't know your product. It doesn't know your constraints or what good looks like for you. The more context you give it upfront, the more the output matches what you actually need or you had in mind. And that's what makes the difference between AI being occasionally helpful and actually useful. Elisa?
Yeah, thank you, Katerina. So yeah, let's again reintroduce the framework here. We started a little bit earlier. So what are the three stages of the one workflow? So again, the first one is to plan, to decide. Yeah, you know what you want to teach, but decide exactly what before you actually start the building. Like Katerina said, it is important to have context in mind before you actually just go dive into to building. The main stage is building the actual artifact, the asset. So you need to make sure that you're turning any raw material that you already have. That could be a script, that could be a text, that could be a file into a real asset and do that fast. And the last and third stage is improving. So does it stop there? Absolutely not. Right after you built an asset, you still need to go back. You need to do updates, perhaps improve something, shorten, expand more, right? So these are the three stages, and they do kind of interloop as well. So planning, building, and improving. So let's dive a little bit deeper over here into planning. And I think, Christine, you're the best person to talk a little bit more about this.
What we're starting to see, go ahead and bring up that next slide, Elisa. I want to talk specifically about the item in quotes that you guys see here on the slide. We need a course on this feature. Everyone gets that request at some point. It just comes and they say, build this. We just need this. And in reality, most of us say, really? Is that true? In practice, without AI, we would have still said, I'm not sure this is the right way to go. We need to do a traditional needs analysis. Now, with AI, right, what we're starting to see come out in practice is the ability to take a request and really determine whether or not that should be the end result. Should it be a course? Should it be a knowledge-based article? Should it be a UI change, right? Is it not an education thing at all? And AI can help us analyze what's already out there, what content is available, what pathways we have to change. All of that is available using AI, which can speed things up, right? It takes that time we would have spent in whatever form of needs analysis we have already done, rather than just a directive, right? We need a course on this feature. It allows us then to speed up that process so that we can get to the end result more quickly, right? So it's about generating actual work that we could do and actual action items for us to work with. And that's what I'm seeing, right? All of the examples that I talk about, all of the content building that we do, everybody is saying this is a place to start leveraging AI. It can help build conversations on requests, right? It can help us with a lot of that discussion that we need to have up front before we ever start to build, because planning is key. I used to say in the trading room, the better the plan, the easier the execution.
That makes sense.
Yep.
And from an AI perspective, the planning stage is actually where structured prompts make the biggest difference. And I know it's the least obvious place to use them, because actually people tend to think of AI as a content generation tool, so they go straight to build. But when AI helps you clarify your thinking before you build, the final output becomes much more focused. And the planning prompts in this book are doing something specific. They are using the model to ask better questions and not just generate answers. It's a different way of working actually with AI, and it can be really, really useful and make a difference.
Indeed, that's true. And I think now it's a good time to touch on some of these prompts that we can use during the planning stage. Now, you'll see over here that we do not have them in full detail, only because you will get those towards the end of the session. You will get access to all of them. But let's take a look at some over here. So some of the prompts that are going to help you during the planning stage. So the first one would be to use KPIs. So use any metrics that you have to train the goal translator. So for instance, maybe a specific metric is just revealing that something isn't going right. Well, perhaps you can use that and turn that into a training priority, right? So this is what I'm gonna build first because I see that there is a need over here based on this metric. Another thing that you could use in planning is creating learner personas. So you need to make sure who the audience is and define a specific person at that time and at that moment in the journey. So you can make it a little bit more specific. Then you can also do content auditing and see where there are any gaps. So what do I mean by that is you do not necessarily have to go in and just start with creating everything new. You can also review and see what you have and perhaps reuse that in order to build upon that. Then, of course, MVP curriculum builder, you can have a scope and have it focused on a first version, right? So not everything needs to be perfect right away. Just make sure you have a first draft, you have the first version, and then you can elaborate on that, you can work on that, and you can change it if needed. And make sure that you have also your learning objectives in place so you can turn topics into just more clear objectives for the learners and outcomes. So what do you need them to achieve after the end of that course, for instance, right? So just some 5 points over here to keep you thinking regarding the planning stage. Again, you can find these in more detail, and we're going to share more of those towards the end. All right, let me go over to the next one over here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so where can you start? So you can start by, again, turning a business goal into a training priority. Like I mentioned earlier, you have KPIs, you have a specific metric, a specific business goal, you have your audience, the journey stage. So where is that person, that persona, and the current friction. So those could be your inputs. And those are going to result in is the training the right intervention, right? So is this the right thing for me to do based on my business goals, based on my KPIs? Or what should learners be able to do differently based on that? What should we build first? Is it a course? Am I building just an ebook? Is it just a specific asset, right? So all of these things are important to keep in mind during the planning stage. Let me move on to the next one. And yeah, just keeping this in mind that training isn't always the answer in the planning stage, and a good prompt will tell you that because it is important that your prompt is correct so that your output is, well, even better, is more correct. Okay, I think we're good with the planning stage. Let's move forward and go over to the building stage. And Christine is going to talk a little bit more about that.
When we start focusing on the build process, it is about the phases that we build in are the same. So how we get started, how we actually build the content, how we iterate against those initial builds, all of that workflow that we currently have can stay in place. The more we change out the tools that we work with, the opportunity for change exists, right? If we change a tool, it means we can optimize the existing workflows. What we see here is the simplicity of AI gives us the opportunity to not go as deep as we probably should. And that's what you see on that green side of the slide, right? Pasting in an article, asking it to build out an outline for a course based on something that single source of content that you work with. Where if you build a little bit more deeply in the prompt stage, when you're building out your AI prompts, what that gives you is a more targeted response at the end because we are targeting the specific audience that we're designing for. In my work, I talk about casual users, power users, and administrator configurators. Each of those audiences requires a different play, right? We have to build the content a little bit differently depending on the audience. The same is going to be true of the format. One audience may require a specific format compared to another audience. So we can generate the appropriate format based on the appropriate the audience that we're directing this against. And constraints are always a good thing. Knowing what it's not supposed to do, telling your AI tools, don't do it this way. I want to make sure we're staying inside this particular box. I'm trying to not bring in too much extra content. So leveraging constraints is super important to make sure that you're creating a direct line of sight to that end product so that the first draft that you get is more meaningful than it would have been if we had been light on the definition in our prompt stages, right? And that I think is the key that I'm seeing as we see more people become more practiced in leveraging AI, right? Eliza?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I don't know if Katerina wanted to mention anything here. Otherwise, we could go on and.
I totally agree with you, Christine, because I know I repeat myself, but the model doesn't know what good looks like for you. You
Exactly.
need to tell it. It doesn't know that your audience, for example, is non-technical. It doesn't know that you need this to be under 3 minutes, for example. It doesn't know your product terminology. So every constraint you add, the audio, the audience level, the format, the length, the tone, what to leave out, it helps it to shape the output into something that fits. And that's why when you check the prompts, the book, they come with specific input fields. They are not just suggestions. They are the variables that shape the output. Elisa?
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move on and take a look at some more prompts over here. We saw some earlier, so let's take a look at some regarding the building stage. And this hits home for us as well because around last year, I think it was, we also refreshed our own academy and we used a lot of these and a lot of AI to not also identify the needs. So in terms of what the course list is, but coming up with each course, coming up with each course's outline, and also helping in creating some of the assets as well. So some of the prompts that you can use here is taking your technical support articles and making those into training assets. So it could be video scripts, it could be ebooks, checklists, or quizzes, right? You can use those as a starting point. Or you can also utilize any product demos that you have and turn those into a lesson builder. Um, so it could be internal notes, right? Or it could be maybe even an old recording. You can take that and you can make it into a customer-facing lesson. And we did that too as well with some recordings that we had from previous webinars. Then, of course, you want to work on the course's outline and an activity mapper. So structure a course with sections and activities, design exactly what you want to teach. Again, what the objective is going to be per course. So what do you want the user to take away from it? Then videos are also very big in learning and courses. So a lot of times you need to have a script and make it screencast ready. So a lot of times some information transcends differently when someone is reading it versus when they're seeing it visually into a screencast. So AI is great into helping with that. So kind of like format and change it so that it is screencast ready. We had to learn this the hard way as well. We were using our knowledge base and our articles to do screencasts, and a lot of times we saw that we had to make changes. It wasn't ready, and it was actually a good loop because it also ended up in us improving the articles themselves as well. So they are more screencast ready for whenever we need them. So this is another thing that you can use into the building stage. Of course, using scenarios and practice activities in the designer, so you can turn a lesson topic into an applied practice because every time examples and use cases work a lot better so that users can assimilate all of the information. And of course, into the building stage, you can build different assets and assessment, and knowledge bases, and checks, self-assessment. So all of that is, of course, available with AI as well. I'm going to show you some of that later as well into the live demo. So yeah, just some prompts over here to help you give you some idea when you are into the building stage. So let me move over to the next one over here. Uh, and yeah, the same source materials can become different training assets for you. So again, you can have the same thing. It could be the support article, like I mentioned, and with prompting, that can be turned into a video script. We did that numerous times for a lot of our courses. It could become an ebook very easily in a matter of seconds even. And a full-blown ebook, not just only text, it could be images, anything you needed to. It can become a checklist or a knowledge check, an actual formal exam. So yeah, all of that just from one asset and the right prompting essentially. Okay, let's go over to the next one. Okay, so here essentially the format that you choose is what is going to change it, right? So what are you trying to make over here? If you're wanting to come up with a checklist, you can do that in product in the moment of doing. If you're going for a video script, then before the product, in the moment of learning, and for knowledge checks after the lesson, after they've gone through the information, so that you can confirm they actually understood what you showed them. So the knowledge check perhaps could be based on a specific ebook. That is something that is also useful and easy to do. I think that's good for the building stage. Let's move over into the improving stage and see what can we fix, what is weak over here, and what can we do with the content, Christine.
We've been talking about the circle of life for content and the development throughout this discussion today. And the improved part is where we start to go back up to the top of the circle again, because it gives us the ability to iterate our content. What I'm seeing in practice with AI in this improvement piece is twofold, right? The first part is feedback, right? Just gathering the feedback. With AI, we have much greater opportunity to gather the feedback and analyze that feedback more appropriately. The second part to this is the ability to analyze existing content. In my history, one of the things that has consistently been problematic is updating content.
Yes.
We build it the first time and then we go back and we have to say, okay, there's a UI change, there's a workflow change, there's a process specific to a particular use case or user, right, of our personas that needs to be adjusted. How do we figure out what that looks like from a timing perspective, from a cost perspective, and how do we iterate it back into our cycle of build so that we can make it happen? And one of the things I was at the summer conference earlier at the end of March, and one of the people that was there was talking about the way they are leveraging AI to analyze how content is actually being used in their LMS and the other place they have content goals, right? These different things, so that you can figure out what content is being leveraged the most so they can prioritize that content for redevelopment. And then as they go through the use cases, they are putting timelines or tags on the older content that is less frequently used so that they can still iterate it appropriately, but because it's not used as frequently, the audience is much less. So they can just do the things that are important first, right? It's that 80-20 kind of thing that we talk about a lot as we build. The most impact needs the most work, right? And so that's what I'm seeing in practice. I think that's a novel way for us to leverage AI to do that analysis and help us figure out what things help us prioritize how we continue to iterate that content over time, right? I just see it as the way to go.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And again, this is a sensitive topic for me as well, the improving stage, because I myself work in the customer training department and our product is, is software. So a lot of times you have, a new release, something has changed into the UI.
Right?
So you need to figure out all of those things. So, okay, what does this impact? What assets do I now need to change? So yeah, definitely really important stage. And with that, I'm going to move over to the next one. So again, just a few prompts over here for the improving stage. that Christine mentioned. So some of the things that you could do is figure out what your weak lessons are. So find out which lessons and why they aren't working before you actually start fixing them. Something else that you can do is not rely, but essentially keep an eye out for any feedback and signals. So see what your learners say, and then based off of that, prioritize that and set actions. So it could be that perhaps they need more content on a specific topic that you didn't analyze enough. Or perhaps maybe they're failing into an exam because it could have been a little bit complicated, right? So you can go back into that and improve that specific activity. Something else that you could do is what I mentioned when you have any releases, any updates into the product, you can triage your existing assets, see what you have, see what has been affected, or sometimes I like to say, see what you can live with. I don't know if Christine, that's something that you say. A lot of times if we have a new release that affects a lot of our content, we have to bargain sometimes if there is enough time. We're like, okay, can we live with this being outdated, or do I need to change the whole thing again? So yeah, triaging here is definitely something that you will have to do at some point, see if anything you need to change. And then of course go ahead and refresh them. And of course, reusable AI playbook builder. So you can turn one strong output into a repeatable team standard. So something that you do all the time, it can become a standard so that you don't have to, do it from scratch every time, but you can just easily reuse it again and again if this applies multiple times. So again, guys, you will find those in more details. We're just briefly mentioning some of them over here for you. So let me move on to the next one over here. Okay, so we did talk earlier about feedback, and feedback is only useful if you can turn it into priorities, right? So a lot of teams have these signals. They have responses from surveys or from support tickets. We have this as well. The drop-off data, you see where people are stop showing up into courses or for some reason dropping out, or any other comments. It could be your communities, your socials, right? So we do have all of this feedback. And what usually is missing is just a structured way to turn that into more actions. So how do we fix it? What do we add later to maybe support something that they asked? Or do we just leave it alone? Like I said, can we leave it with it, right? So it is extremely important to see what you're going to do with that feedback, to have it organized and structured in a way that you can do one of these things with it. Either fix, maybe add it into the list for something to do later, or just make peace with it and leave it alone. So yeah, one of the things here. And with that, I think this kind of concludes what we saw today regarding the workflow. So you see that we have this into a kind of a circle. So yes, you start with planning, determining what you want to do, what you want to include, what you're training them for, what you're teaching. Then you move on to the building stage where you actually go ahead and you craft all of your assets, your material, your learning activities, whatever it is. And then, of course, you have the improving stage, which could mean just right away improving something you created that you didn't like, or it could even mean updating based on any feedback or based on any changes that you have into the product, right? And you see that this is kind of a renewable little cycle over here, because this could also take you back to the start, right? Perhaps you want to replan over here, make a 180, make some changes, and go over it again and again as many times as it is needed. So this is kind of what we saw over here today. Let me move over to the next one. And I think now is my time to shine a little bit more. So here, we're going to see a little bit more inside LearnWorlds. So like I mentioned earlier, if you haven't seen LearnWorlds before, it's an LMS platform and it can cover all of your learning needs. So LearnWorlds has an integrated AI assistant in quite a few areas. I'll show you in a little bit, but you can use it to build up pages, like your whole pages. You can describe what you need in the page, even down to sections. You can add further more sections. You can create things like blog posts. You can create things like pop-up. I think if there's time, I may show you one of those as well. Of course, it doesn't stop there. It can help you into building the course's outline itself. We mentioned that earlier, into the planning. So all the way from coming up with a nice catchy name for the course, or maybe SEO information for it. And of course, all the way down to the outline of the course, and even in helping you create the material. So maybe you want to create an ebook lesson for it, or perhaps a form, or maybe an assessment, an exam. So all of those can be done with the integrated assistant. And yeah, that doesn't stop there. You'll see that it allows you to also generate images. So yeah, LearnWorlds is AI first, and it gives you the access and the opportunity to do all of that. All right, just looking into my notes here, seeing if I missed anything. And I think it's good that I show you. Let me see what we have over here. Yeah, just the marginal one. So let me stop sharing my screen so I can share the right screen so that I can show you through the demo. So give me a second to make sure I share the right screen. I have in the past shared my Slack screen, so I don't have a good record. Okay, I see some people asking questions. Keep asking questions, guys, in the chat and the Q&A, and we'll have in a little bit more time to go through Q&A. So with that, I'm going to start sharing my screen, and I think I have the correct screen. So hopefully you can see I'm inside a LearnWorlds Academy over here. It's a staging environment, so obviously bear with me if anything isn't enough or isn't working correctly. All right, so what we have here, I figured that I'm going to start you guys with the course, since I feel like it's the core of any training need and educational need. So you will see that when you're starting to build a course, Learners right away has quite a few options for you, and I'm going to go with the AI option. So you see, in the past, this was a little bit more structured, but I feel like with the years passing, everyone is a lot more matured in terms of how to use AI. So right now, you'll see that everywhere that we have the integrated AI assistant, you'll find it in a way like this, where you can freely just go ahead and type in your prompt. I don't know, it could be perhaps create a course on marketing or whatever your topic is for training. And you see that it doesn't stop there, right? Of course, you can use all of these things to help you just make the prompt as the best that it can be so that you can have the best output. So with that in mind, you can attach files. So it could be maybe you have some content on it, maybe you have a PDF, maybe you have a presentation. So you can attach files to help you and give it some more context. And that way it can create a better, more relatable course in terms of what you had in mind. So you can, of course, just paste simple text, set different parameters to help it. I'm just going to quickly tap in there so that you can see. For instance, I can decide the type of learning activities that I want. Perhaps it could be an ebook, it could be videos, forms, exams, right? You see the list goes on. I can figure out the objectives, my audience, who my audience is, things like tone of voice and instructional approach. So COBES, Garnier's, problem solve, problem based. So all of these parameters are here for you. But of course, you can just freely write that into the prompt as well, right? But you'll find them here as well. And then, of course, you can add something else as a reference. So if you have another course, let's say in LearnWorlds that you wanted to reference, I have another one over here on digital marketing. You can have it do that as well. And it's going to reference that and do that for you. I don't know if we should go ahead and do it from here. I'm not going to go through it just so that I save up some more time for the Q&A. But I can show you almost what it's going to look like. So I'm going to go into a course that I've already created in here, just so I can show you a little bit faster. So let's say that we went through with it, right? And it came up with my outline over here. So anything that you see over here, of course, you can edit, you can change, and you can come back over here to AI and you get to determine what other learning activities you want to add, right? So just go in here, you describe it, and it's going to create that for you. So I don't know, perhaps I want to add a new ebook with the latest marketing tools, for instance, right? Again, you have a couple more options over here. I'm just freely going with the prompt over here. But again, keep in mind that the more context given the prompt, the better the result is going to be, right? So now I requested that I create a learning activity. an ebook specifically. So yeah, it says that this is what I'm going to create. Here's the idea. Would you like me to insert it? Yeah, sure. So you just say yes, and then it's going to add it for you. So what that is going to do is just create the activity for you. And then of course you can go back in and start filling it in with content. Yes. Bear with me if anything doesn't work as expected. Again, this is just a staging environment. If not, that's fine. Okay, so here it is. It created the ebook for me. And similarly, of course, you can create any different activity type that I want to have, right? This doesn't limit it to ebook. So let's say that I created the ebook. And let me go in here and see how I can fill this ebook in with content. Let's give us a moment to load this and I'll show you. Okay, so in here, let me just bring some notions into mind. So we generated the ebook. We're going to do that. We're going to do that now. You can add further components in it. You can edit the elements and then, of course, go back and refine and improve, like we mentioned earlier, into the cycle. So right here, you have a couple options. Create with AI is what I'm going to go with. Sorry, give me a second. So right here, you decide on what the ebook is going to be. So I don't know, list or describe the marketing tools in 2026, right? Can go for that. Again, all of the options that you saw earlier, you have over here. So it is freely, so you're free to just do everything via prompting. But if you feel like you need a more guidance, a more structured way, you can also go back here and just, further clarify with the guidance of the parameters over here. So what am I creating? It could be an article, it could be a chapter. What is your goal over here? To show how it works, prevent mistakes, instructional moves, and also decide on the length. I don't know, let's go for medium over here, right? Again, references if you want, and you'll see the parameters right here as well. So I'm going to click over here, and you see this lovely two-mode canvas over here. So we mentioned planning earlier, and I feel like this kind of like comes in mind over here. So onto your left side, you will see what the outline is going to be. So what you're still planning to create, and from here it is where you still interact with it, and you get to determine and direct what you want it to do. So you can write the structure over here, what you're wanting to create. I think I'm going to exit from here just so that I don't, waste all of our time over here, but you get the idea. So you have your canvas over here. And now I'm going to go straight into one of the ebooks that we have created so that I can show you a few things in there. So give me a minute. I think actually, oh, I have it here. So that's better. Okay, so say we've created this ebook over here. You see that now as part of those stages that we mentioned is adding components. So you can add more things over here and you'll see that the ebook over here is comprised of different sections. You can add more sections with AI. So see, new section will appear here. You get to determine again what the section is going to be about. Depending on what your ebook is about. This is about AI privacy and growth. So I don't know, it could be for anything like that. And just like that, from here, you can go in and determine exactly what to add. It doesn't stop there for any text, of course. You can select it and you can choose to improve it. You can translate it and say, I don't know, perhaps polish this or rephrase this, make it more engaging. Perhaps this is too long. Maybe you want to shorten it. I don't know, just randomly selecting one over here. But yeah, so over here we have all of the stages from creating the whole course, from creating the course's outline, from adding the learning activities, deciding on what you want to teach, all the way down to creating the actual assets, creating the ebooks in this scenario over here. So likewise, as I showed you here in the ebook, that doesn't stop there. And let me actually go back over here so that I can show you a few more things. Sure, let's save. So besides the ebook, of course, you can create different type of learning activities as well. It could be a form, it could be an exam. So yeah, it doesn't stop there. Any of the exams, you could go in there and you get to determine what type of questions. So is it going to be a multiple choice? Is it going to be an open-ended question? Not only that, but you can also determine exactly what the feedback is going to be based on the answers. All right, I think I've already taken up a lot of time. I'm gonna slightly wrap it up over here, but I just wanted to show you quickly over here that in the builder itself, you can also use the integrated AI. So for the pages, for instance, you can create a brand new page over here with as well. So again, either via prompting, so write your prompt over here, or give guidance with different parameters. So what are you trying to create? A landing page, a course page, a pricing page, right? And for all of these pages, you will see again that two-mode canvas where on the left side, you will see the plan. So maybe I want this page to have 5 sections. The first one is going to be hero section. The second one is going to be newsletter, an email grabber, whatever it is. So you can kind of plan it. And then to the right side, you dictate exactly what you want and you generate it. So this doesn't only go for pages. It is for pages, for funnels, for pop-ups, for the blog. So you will find AI over here in all of these. And something last, because yeah, some of these things you can do, of course, externally as well if you wish. But having all of this concentrated inside your academy is helpful because you can get a lot more context for you. And what I mean by that is if I go over here to the settings of my AI, you'll find a context little widget section over here where you can determine. So think of this as making a custom, AI GPT for you, right? You kind of set the context of your academy. What is your school's goal, right? What is the language? What is your audience? Who are your learners? Your brand's personality, the tone of voice that you want across the board, across the school, your image style, because I guess I didn't mention that, but you can also generate images right here for any course, for any ebook, right? Or you can even set custom instructions. So anything that you do with the integrated AI assistant is within context. So all the context, all the information that you provide over here can be used and will be used in your prompting afterwards. All right, let me stop my sharing over here and I'm going to go back into our presentation. So let me share that. I just want to be mindful of our time here and make sure we have some time for Q&As. Okay, so I think we kind of mentioned these on, what you can do from the input to the outputs. I'm gonna skip and go over to the next one over here. And yeah, let's go straight into questions. And I don't know, ladies, Christine and Katarina, if you feel like you've seen any question that you'd like to address, feel free. Otherwise, I could open up and see if there's anything over here that we can start picking on, or if there's anyone that has a question that has remained unanswered from our support team. Let me also check where we have them in here, see if there's any questions from there. I'm sure there've been quite a few, and our team has answered. So let me see. I see Christine has also answered some in the Q&A. Right, Christine?
I did, but Elisa, take that one that Jim asked because he was more
Yeah.
specific. I was generic. He's
Mhm.
actually talking about the tools within LearnWorlds, and I can't
Yeah.
speak to that with as much level of detail as you guys can.
Yes. So Jim is asking, when you use an LLM generated assessment content, how much of a window do you use? Let me see, how much of a window? I'm trying to understand what do
Are
you
we
mean by
talking
that?
about context window?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this the question?
Jim, feel free to send a follow-up context, he says, Katerina.
It's he was wondering how much context the LearnWorlds automatic assessment content generation systems use. If I can get down further.
So I think I cannot
Formulating assessment
provide a
questions. There we
certain
go.
number, but I would say it depends. It depends of the resources and what you're going to use. We have a context limit about 400,000 tokens. I'm not sure if this answers the question.
Yeah, let us know, Jim. Hopefully it does. Okay, let me read the next one I see over here on the chat. So Glenn is saying, I'm an independent consultant and generally don't have access to client internet sites, LLMs, etc. Any recommendations on how to leverage AI without access to all input content? I'm trying to think here. If any of you want to jump in, feel free. Any recommendations on how to leverage AI without accessing? Yes, Katerina?
Sorry, I
Did you wanna-
didn't hear the question. I'm trying to find the question.
Yeah, it's in the chat. Glenn says, I am an independent consultant and generally don't have access to client internet sites, LLMs, LMSs, and so on. Any recommendations on how to leverage AI without access to all input content?
Christine, maybe?
I would start with knowledge base, because normally knowledge base is, or tech docs, basic tech docs are open to the public. So
Mhm.
in most situations, that content is readily searchable on the internet already. So I would start there as at least do some of the planning. If you're building content for a customer, you would need to go in and eventually say, I need access to your stuff, whatever that looks like, product. I would argue that you would like to see some access to support tickets as well, just because we've used that as a theme throughout many of the examples today. And it's valid in that identifying what kinds of questions people are asking about a particular thing will help you determine what the solution is to the majority of those questions. And you can't do that without access. So I would say you probably want to build that into your process as it is, but if you can only leverage, if you are a consultant, at least initially, you can only leverage what's available for everyone to get to. And most of the time that's the tech docs or the knowledge base articles, depending on how they label them. Right.
Yeah. Glenn is sending a follow over here. He's saying the knowledge bases are within the internet. I'm trying to get access to internal content resources. I'm still trying to figure it out too, and I appreciate your ideas. Okay, I guess that was just some feedback, so thanks for that. Mhm. I see earlier also, where was it? Yeah, Michael said, how does customer interactivity in video files work? Is this quorum transferable? I'm not sure if you were referring specifically to LearnWorlds, but you can definitely track interactivity in terms of when it comes to videos. So how much did they watch? You can set specific rules that if they've watched, I don't know, 30% or specific time frames, then track that they progressed or they completed or not. So this is something that you can do within LearnWorlds. Now, if you have your videos into SCORM files, this is also something that is supported, and we do track progress in SCORM files as well. So even if you have videos, or if you have, I don't know, let's say assessments, they have grades, so all of those are trackable within LearnWorlds, and you can transfer those. So if that is your question, hopefully I was able to answer that. Marta is asking, can I embed an external tool, for example, an AI tutor or a Credible? Katerina, do you want to take this on? If this is on LearnWorlds, Marta, I guess we can answer that.
So Accredible, we already support Accredible. It is a third party for certificates, right? So we already
Yes.
have on production. And for an AI tutor, yes, if there is a documentation, you can implement your custom your custom code, and you can make it happen. Yes.
Okay, perfect. I see another question from Heather. If we have course content organized on a spreadsheet, like heading titles, video links, PDFs, and so on, can we use AI to set up the course from that spreadsheet?
I want to believe that yes. If you feed your AI with this file, why not? Yes.
Yeah. And also there is a non-AI way to do that as well, where if you already have your content, you can also upload it as well. But yes, you can give it as context to AI too. All right, any other questions? I know some were answered during our presentation, but guys, now is your time to take advantage of us. So feel free to ask anything over here. I'm trying to scour through the questions that our support agent has replied to. Um, a lot of them are regarding the platform, so not necessarily AI. Oh, okay, someone's saying, can you upload PDFs in your LearnWorlds AI? What about other content formats that are supported? How do you feed in context? I guess some of that was answered, but Katerina, if you'd like to touch more on that, feel free.
Sure, yes, you can upload, of course, a PDF file. We can share a list of what kind of files you can upload. For example, docx, an Excel file, more of them. So yes,
Yeah,
PowerPoint probably, yeah.
absolutely. Okay, I see another question from Rowelly. So is it possible to have an AI bot that will help the learners with only the content that is in the course? I'm trying to figure out how you mean that. If you mean like a little support bot, we do not currently have that, but we have a native integration with third-party tools that do that, like Talk to and some support tools. Again, correct me, Katerina, if I'm wrong here, but this is definitely one way to do it. Now, if you mean something that is more specific to a specific learning activity per se, in assessments and exams, you can have AI dialogues where if you have certain questions that support that, then the learner can interact with AI. So, hey, this is my response on this. Why did you give me this feedback? So yes, to some extent you can do it, but if you are referring to full-on AI support for the learners while they're on the course player, you can do that with third-party apps for sure. Okay, just seeing here if there's anything else that we could touch on. Okay, there's okay, Beverly said, can you upload a context profile of how you want the AI to work with you at the outset rather than the section by section? Can you see that question, Katerina? It's under the answered ones.
Give
If
me a
you'd like to
minute
take that
to
on.
check it.
Yeah, Beverly, can you upload a context profile on how you want the AI to work with you at the outset rather than section by section?
So yes, as you showed us earlier, we are going to introduce a new tab about the context. So yes, you can use some rules over there. You can give some context that the AI can use across the platform or to specific areas. So yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Okay, just scouring through. So Mia, okay, Mia is answering essentially, you see over here. Let me see if there's anything else that is unanswered. So we have another one. No, I think we answered that from Heather. Just checking, guys, if there's anything that is unanswered over here. Marta is raising their hand. Just please add in your question, either the chat or Q&A, because I cannot give you microphone access. And whoever wants to ask, guys, you have time. Feel free to type it in, and we can see that. Michael is sharing something. A concern with AI is that you may produce a wonderful course with PDFs and videos, but the learner can then use AI bots to refashion your course into something else or make the points in small segments for social media posts. I suppose that is the risk we have to face as creators. I cannot think of any other way to prevent this. Yes, I understand. I guess this is more of a, general concern.
Thanks.
And I feel like, this goes with everything on the internet, essentially. Anything that you share, I guess you got to make peace that it comes with a risk like this. Obviously, LearnWorlds, and I'm sure most platforms would do our best to help keep your content private, not private, I mean safe, but I feel like, this concern is always there. I think, Christina, you wanted to say something on this?
There's a way that you can leverage AI to combat the bots that are taking AI, and that you can scrape and see where your content is being used in other places on the internet. If your teams are very concerned about that, talk to your legal team and see exactly what the rules are and how things are playing out, so that you can then come back and build the appropriate tools to identify where copying may happen and what you want to do about it if you find it or when you find it, because you probably will.
Yeah.
My face pops up in some of the oddest places. And the idea behind that is not technically your responsibility because it becomes an IP and intellectual property question that goes through legal. So
Mm.
sit down with your legal team, identify what the construct is going to look like for you, and then you can build a bot that will go and do all of the work on the internet. And then much like you see things for your financial health, right? People will come and say, "Oh, look, you're on the dark web again," right? You can do the same thing with your intellectual property and the learning that you create. And once you've done that, then you can figure out what you want to do about it.
Mhm.
If there's a serial offender, for example, one particular person who is repurposing your content on the regular. I have been a part of those kinds of events historically, and it is not any fun, to be honest. It takes a lot of work to decide not only what you want to do about it, but how you want to handle it. And again, at that point, it goes to legal. It's not your responsibility, but you can certainly make suggestions on how to figure out how to find it, and then let them figure out how they want to proceed once you discover it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, now I guess let me just answer some of the questions that I see a lot in the chat. Guys, you will get the recording of this. Some people are asking for the prompts. We have shared them in the chat. Let me share that again. There's a file over here. It is this one right here as well. So all of the prompts right here. But you will also find it into your inbox, I think tomorrow. So keep an eye out on your inbox, the email that you used to register for this webinar. You should be getting this file over there as well. And with that, I think we can conclude the Q&A section. Sorry if any remained unanswered, just to be a little bit mindful of the time, because I see some people are saying I have to go. So let me just a little bit over here again, what is coming up? You will get the prompts. You can either download it. It's this one right here. We sent it in the chat. If not, don't worry. We're going to email it for you. You're going to get the recording. And if you want, you can also utilize a free trial of LearnWorlds as well. Now, besides that, if you feel like LearnWorlds is an LMS platform for you, you can also utilize this code and you will get 15% off. Just use prompts 15. So this is a discount code. If you guys want to try out LearnWorlds, feel free to do that and use the discount code as well for it. And I think this concludes our webinar today. Ladies, if you have any final thoughts, otherwise, I'd just like to thank you both for being here today and helping us in supporting this event today. So thank you,
Thanks for
Christine
having me.
and Katerina.
Thank you so
See you
much.
next time, guys.
And of course, thank you to all of you guys who tuned in. We hope that this was a valuable session for you. And again, keep an eye out on your inbox for all the prompts and the recordings of this session. So thank you for attending and see you around. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.